Welcome to the Cronos guide to all comic book locations. Today I will show you where all 10 comic books are hidden, and you will of course get them very easily. The first comic book is hardly to miss, namely when you are right at the beginning in the first mission and walk through this cave here and basically activate one of the first anomalies. Then you can get the comic book. That is, when you have gone up with a stone into the first floor, simply activate the anomaly here and you can use this stone here as an elevator. Then come over into the next floor. I think everyone has found this book because the comic book is lying here directly on the counter. So when you arrive up here, just collect a bit of loot. In the back there is also a database entry and the comic book is lying exactly here in the middle of the desk. You can collect it here once and thus have it, the first comic book in your pocket. Here it is. And we move on to the second comic book. Comic book number 2 you find when you simply follow the main path, and then at some point you have to jump down here shortly before you come into the apartments. And here is then a relatively large area with many enemies, and here you of course have to fight for your life first. But as soon as you have done this, you can get the next comic book. We have now quickly defeated all enemies here, and afterwards we grab the comic book, which can also be relatively easily overlooked. First walk along to the left and grab some loot here on the bench, Silent Hill style, and then go over here to this cabinet that is standing here and blocking the passage. You have to move this once in order to get to the next comic book, namely comic book number 2. Take the cabinet and push it aside here, and you come to a small garage, and there the next comic book is lying, which you of course collect along with all the nice loot that you also find here. And then we can move on to comic book number 3, which we will of course also find right away. So comic book number 2 take once. Comic book number 3 you can get when you have received the pistol upgrade. That is the one where you can see the enemy's energy on your pistol, and afterwards you can fetch it. First defeat all the enemies before you go down here, and then you can immediately grab the comic book. Important is that you have the bolt cutters with you. We definitely need that to get the comic book here. I will quickly defeat the enemies and then it continues down here. Have we now defeated all enemies here, then of course you also take the transmitter with you. We also need them all later to get the platinum trophy, but that is for another guide, or you follow the 100% complete walkthrough. Then you go through here, watch out for the walls a bit. There are such creatures on the walls that I personally super hate, because I never know where exactly they are. Defeat the enemies here, walk through once here, and attention, here on the right you can still take a big energy. Be sure to defeat the enemy on the wall beforehand so that it doesn't grab you. Grab the 400 energy in the back here, and then we can move on. It's only 250, but it's already quite a good amount at the beginning. Then go through here, defeat this guy, and in the very back corner you can use the bolt cutter to go in here and get the next comic book. It's lying right here on the desk. We move on to comic book number 4, and you get it when you can go into the changing room. That is when you have received the key for it. You can go through once here and then you find the anomaly on the way to get the gravitation boots. We don't have the gravitation boots yet. We are currently still on the way there, so that is a little note for the current mission. Then go through here. In the back you still find the database entry. You have of course put the anomaly aside so that you can pass through. And here you find the unlock code. If you have found it, definitely deactivate the anomaly again, because then you can run behind these cabinets and collect the next comic book right away, which is in the room here. Crawl through underneath here. By the way, there's also a valuable camera, which we of course also take with us. And here at the locker there is still a bit of loot. also a pyramide, and in the room here lies also the comic book, which we can collect here at the locker. Comic book number 4 is in the pocket. We continue with comic book number 5. Comic book number 5 we find when Word has turned off the power here, and we already have the gravitation boots. Then we have to run over here once, completely around the circle, and then turn the power back on in the restaurant. Simply run through here and you come to the balcony area of the restaurant. You can squeeze through this gap here and come out here. Yes, up here there are then some anomalies to activate, so that you can get through. First use the first one to build yourself a small bridge here, and then of course we can still loot a little. Run through here and now don't follow the tunnel. That would be the main path, but we go left once more and deactivate the anomaly again. Then you can run through here. Here there is also still a bit of loot to grab. We quickly take that and grab it here. If you have deactivated, then just go around the balcony farther and you can then reactivate it to clear the way again. And here at the back right, use the bolt cutters and then you can get the next entry for your comic book number 5. Comic book number 6 you find when you are on the way to the hospital, namely behind this locked door here. We can open it once here, the door next to the database entry, and for that we first go up here. Climb up the step here once and you come into the next area. Pretty creepy. Attention, here some monsters come from the side again. Defeat the first one here through the window so it doesn't grab you. Then go through the door and here you can immediately open the door below. It is blocked with some bars and we have to shoot them away, so that the doors open. So look down here and you see the door below with the bars. And we of course have to shoot away these bars and can then go through the door to collect comic book number 6. And we grab that, of course. Just go through here and it is lying right here on the dresser when you come in. Take it and we move on to comic book number 11. You get that in the hospital as soon as you have the master keycard. That is the director's keycard. Yes, we can then fetch it relatively easily because we then go back into diagnostics, and in diagnostics you can then use the keycard at the side and automatically get to comic book number 11, which we of course take here and pack for our collection. Comic book number 8, there is then again when you have the device to generate electricity and have to activate the generator for the second subway. Note that this is the second subway. That's why you run through once, and when you have then activated the first generator, you can go towards the second generator. But as a result, the door in the back here is now open and you can of course collect the next comic book here. Comic book number 9 we then find only relatively at the end, namely when we are on the way to the church. There we use the gravitation boots at the side, fly over here once, briefly, and pay a little attention here. You then have to go up here and first go right in before you use the next gravitation point. And here you find comic book number 9, which we of course can collect here and grab the item that is lying back here on the table. Comic book number 10 you then find really at the very end. When you go back to Word, you must not miss it. Definitely keep an eye out there again. A bunch of enemies come here, and here you can crawl through on the right ones to also find comic book number 10 right away. Here once around the corner quickly, use the bolt cutters, and there we have the last comic book and the trophy. Have fun with it, and of course all other guides are also available on the channel. Also follow the 100% guide if you don't want to miss anything. Or check out the next video in the end screen. There I will show you where we find all the cats. And every cat gives a core, that's why it's especially useful to also find all the cats. Especially for the platinum trophy. So I would be happy if you tune in again next time, and I see you then guys. Take care, adios and ciao.